just want to turn to one final part of this story, which I think is prompted really by this, I think, rather beautiful picture of this rather beautiful plane. I'm not sure if any people in this room ever traveled in this rather beautiful plane. A couple of people are putting their hands up. This was Concorde, which was the centerpiece of British and indeed French innovation in the 1960s. Huge public and commercial investment in this flagship, which was then ultimately grounded after the crash in Paris 15 years or so ago. Why am I showing this? I think in retrospect, it's kind of extraordinary that this country made its top innovation priority a way of transporting a few dozen very wealthy businessmen a couple of hours more quickly from London to New York. That's an odd priority. Maybe you don't think it's an odd priority. I think it's a slightly odd priority. And in a way, it was an overhang of that older history of innovation when it was driven by glory or by the sort of needs of a victory, hoping for a military spin-off. Concorde was completely defeated by Boeing, which concentrated instead on cheap mass travel for the masses. And that turned out to be a much better bet. But Concorde was part of a series of innovation strategies which had no relationship, in many ways, to democracy, to what the public actually needed, to what the public would actually benefit from in terms of technological development. And I think we're now in a period where sort of democracy, public arguments and questions are becoming much more part of this story. That they're almost invisible in most of the literature on innovation, but they're very much part of the world around us. So here's just 4 little examples. Fracking. Is innovation in fracking a good thing or a bad thing? My guess is this audience will have a very wide range of views about whether this is essentially a fantastic new way of sucking energy out of the earth, or whether it is actually a monstrosity destroying the environment. The same with drones, which can shoot missiles at a village in northwest Pakistan. Is that a great advance in military technology which saves lots of US or UK soldiers' lives? Or again, is it a horrible sort of monstrosity of the next generation warfare? Stem cell therapy, encouraged in this country. Many other countries, including for quite a long time the US, have tried to make it illegal, seeing it as contrary to the deeply held religious values about how humans should not play at being God. And more recently, the bottom right picture is a picture of Alipay from China, where you can now at a supermarket checkout pay for your groceries by smiling. And the facial recognition system automatically recognizes you, debits your account, and of course is linked to the government's facial recognition system, so they know exactly where you are and what you're doing. Now again, some people will see this as a nice example of smart progress, making life have less friction in it. Others as really almost a parody of the big brother state, big brother, big business. And so we're moving into an era, I think, where innovation is correctly more contested, more argued about. And my hope is, and I'm not totally certain about this, but this is where I want to close, that despite this history of innovation mainly being driven by big government, big business, the needs of victory or glory for our rulers, we may be moving into a period when innovation is more actually about the needs of the people. It's driven by the things which actually create value for the public, better ways of traveling, better ways of solving issues of health or education or environment, not just better ways of killing people, where many more people are involved in the practice of innovation. And that's been one of the stories of the last few years, is innovation no longer being just a bunch of men in places like Bell Labs or Rothamsted, but literally millions, tens of millions of people taking part in innovation, whether through their startups or companies or civil society and social innovation, or just in their daily lives. And more, the practice of innovation having to be done with the people. So that if you are a company, a Facebook, or a government, wanting to introduce a new technology, you have to find a way of having a dialogue with the people you're trying to serve about whether this is actually useful for them, whether it is actually a good thing to harvest their data and sell it, whether the next generation of moves on genomics really are ones we collectively would want to choose or not. And that's, I think, the promise of the next 10 or 20 years, is how do we get the best of our science, our innovation systems, our technology systems, but actually connect them to the true interests and the true voices of hopefully billions of people, not just a tiny minority in institutions in cities like this. Now, part of that is driving another thing we do at Nesta, which is try to open up these skills, these methods, so anyone can use them. Some of you may have used some of these tools, which are freely available on our website, like the DIY toolkit, over 1 million views worldwide, translated now into 9 languages, or the Creative Enterprise Toolkit, which helps creative entrepreneurs create businesses. Again, thousands of users have taken advantage of these skills without having to pay for an MBA in order to become players, creators in the world of innovation. And perhaps bringing us a bit closer to the implicit message of that picture from William Blake, which I started with, of God creating the world in 6 days, making humans in his own image, and therefore making humans as essentially creators of the world around them, not observers, not just users, not just consumers. And I think the spirit which drives that is the spirit on which I'd like to end, which is a nice comment from John Cage. I don't understand why people are scared of new ideas. I'm scared of the old ones. And I have to say, more and more, that's how I feel at the moment. And I hope you do too.